Welcome in to WKYC.com and Tribe Fest, our digital show where you've got us streaming on Facebook Live, on the WKYC app. Nick Camino alongside longtime columnist Bud Shaw. A lot of times you get to see us together on the Sports Tonight show Sunday night, so we're getting a full dose of each other this entire weekend. It's great to be with Bud. Bud, great to see you.
Yeah, you don't seem to have, when you refer to it as a full dose, that doesn't.
8th annual Tribe Fest. Yeah. I can proudly say I've been at every one of these. The first one they did, first couple that they did, these were at Progressive Field. Mm-hmm. Then they started doing them at some of the local hotels, but they've kind of found this home here at the convention center. And for an event like this, where you've got so many people and so many activities and so many players, this does, you and I walked over together, we were talking about it. We actually Ubered over together. I didn't want to tell how lazy we were. But it was, I mean, we said even coming in, this is like the perfect venue for this type of event.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and you and I were here for when it was Play Ball Park, which was also a great event for people in Cleveland to come out, baseball fans. So, we always get into February with this, and it's the short month, and we think at least we know that winter's coming to an end eventually. So this is always like a highlight for me to just get that feel like, okay, we might be through the worst of it.
Well, Betsy Kling and Jay Crawford were here earlier for the morning session. That was the season ticket holders session. The general admission session doors are just about to open up. I was going to ask Betsy if we ran into her. Are we going to pay for this on the back end with all this? This has been a nice winter for us. By the time March 26th comes around, that's opening day at Progressive Field. Will there be snow on the ground?
That's when Derek Jeter and Larry Walker went into the Hall of Fame, Larry Walker's quote was that he felt like the old 45 record, where the hit is on one side and then the B side is. That's how I feel with Betsy and Jay. You and I are the B side.
Absolutely. Unequivocally.
There you go.
Well, we will have an all-star cast of guests. Our friend Brian Krantz says you guys are the C crew.
Oh, thanks.
Our all-star cast of guests will be joining us. Tell us who we've got coming on today. Well, again, all of this is subject to change, but we're expecting to have.
Yeah, we've got Cookie Carrasco right off the bat, which is great. Everybody knows what he dealt with last year. It's a guy that, I'm going to go through a couple of numbers when we get him up here to remind people just how good he was before last season as a starter.
Yeah.
People only saw him last year as a reliever. Mike Clevenger, we know, who's had some very opinionated things to say about the Houston Astros lately, and I'm sure we'll revisit a little bit of that with him. A guy that a lot of Browns fans, I think, have forgotten about a little bit, and, not through any fault of his own, but the fact is Bradley Zimmer has been hurt.
Yeah.
He's a guy who I think still figures into them trying to fill an outfield platoon in some cases. Zach Plesac we'll be talking with.
Fun to catch up with him.
Who really, I believe he just sort of shot up, like not came out of nowhere. That's always, that's always kind of a corny cliche that people come out of nowhere. They don't. These guys put in a lot of work. But he's a guy that I think started last year down in Akron, or maybe he wasn't even in Akron.
Yeah.
Who came up and really helped him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in.
A guy like him, and we'll get into the rest of the guests, a guy like him, I do wonder, with as stacked as that rotation is, he's going to be competing for a spot in that rotation.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he's a lock to be,
it's going to be,
we'll talk to him about.
It's going to be tight, even though Kluber's not here. So, and then we're going to get the manager, who people may have heard of, a guy named Terry Francona. One thing about him that struck me, Nick, is that this will be his 8th season managing in Cleveland.
Wow.
He will now match his stay with the Boston Red Sox, where he was also there 8 years.
Think about that.
He took a year off in between those jobs. Took a few years off of managing after his Philadelphia experience, which didn't go so well. But this guy hasn't had a losing season since 2000 as a manager.
He is
and we know
the best, I think, at what he does. We're going to be joined by Carlos Carrasco here any second.
Yeah.
He is, what he does, and you've covered a lot of different managers. To me, he's one of the best at what he does. Yeah. It is great. All right, we are excited to be joined by Tribe right-hander Carlos Carrasco, who's joining us here at Tribe Fest at the Convention Center. Again, we'll have an all-star cast of guests that will be joining us. The MLB Comeback Player of the Year. It is great to see you, Carlos.
Good to see you, Carlos.
Thanks for stopping by. How cool is this event to be here in Cleveland? You get to see all the fans, and you can kind of play off some of the excitement that they have for the upcoming 2020 season.
You know what? It's really nice, to get it back here to the city and get to see all the teammates and the fans, and just getting ready for the 2020. Last year, I think we kind of come like a little bit short to make the playoff. This year, I think we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be great. Just keep playing hard baseball, from the beginning to the end, and then we go from there.
You know, the highlight of many Indians fans and baseball fans in general, the highlight of their season last year was watching you come back and take the mound in Tampa. Can you catch people up now on where you stand health-wise, what you've been able to do in the off-season to get ready for the new year?
Yeah, you know what? I think I did everything for those 3 months from May to getting back to the mound. I think that's those months was the more important for me to do everything. Right now I'm feeling great. I start throwing bullpen, running. I do everything like normal right now that I couldn't do those 3 months. But right now I feel way better. So I can wait to start next week on spring training to go heading back to Arizona and start it.
Carlos, it seems like there's been a lot of questions as to, okay, are you going to be in that starting rotation? Could you be a nice weapon for Terry Francona out of the bullpen? You have seemed to kind of say, hey, listen, the plan right now is for you to be in that starting rotation, right?
Yeah, that's my plan.
Yeah.
But anyway, whatever Tito or the organization want me to do, even on the bullpen or the starting pitch, I will do it. But I'm ready for a start.
And that's kind of how you've been stretched out. You've said you've been
Yes.
throwing bullpens. I mean, the plan is to, from day one at least, to be a starter.
Yes, for day one. Yes, you're right.
You know, just to remind people, in 2017, he had 200 innings pitched. In 2018, 192 innings pitched. Last year, only 80 for obvious reasons. Will there be any challenge in building that up, or will that take care of itself by getting innings pitched?
I think they
spring
take care of
training?
themselves. Soon the season starts, and then we go. I just go game by game right there. Yeah, like you said, like 200 and 192, something like that, and only 80 last year for so many reasons too. But I think I just get him from the beginning. I've been playing baseball for a long time,
Yeah.
and I know I miss a lot of innings last year. But I just coming ready for this year, so I still hungry for pitch more. You just kind of see Bieber, Savelli, Clevenger, Plesac, those guys throwing every fifth day. So I just want to do that. I just want to enjoy that part too. That was unbelievable to see, Bieber on the first year in the big leagues, 200 innings, what he did last year and everything. So that's my goal. Just get him back to where I was 2 years ago, and I think I'm really excited for.
You mentioned all those guys. They all happen to be young. I'm thinking you're like the vet. You're like the old guy now. You're the veteran. How's that feel?
Yeah, you know what? I feel normal, but at the same time, they are, they're gonna learn from other people, from me, and I gonna learn from there too. They are pretty young. I think it's like 20, 24, 25. I'm the only one like 32 right now, but I think it's gonna be a special group. It's gonna be really fun to see those guys pitching every fifth day, and then we learn a lot from there.
I shouldn't remind you, but you'll be 33 in March, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
That I feel like 25.
There you go.
hey, the fact that when you did come back, I mean, your velocity in that first game back was up there, wasn't it?
Yes.
Throwing 95, 96.
Yes.
Was that a surprise to you that you were able to get it back that quickly after going through what you went through last year?
You know what? But I did everything on my end, so to get it back to the bullpen, and I just throw a lot of bullpen. Didn't was easy, it's coming back, and when I saw those results right there, in the beginning I got a little bit frustration because throwing bullpen, we got the radio going and they say like 89, like 91, 92, and I go, oh my God. But as soon as I went to the first game in Akron, I saw the scoreboard like hitting 97, 98, and the average was like 96, 97. Okay, I don't believe this. I just wanna be out there and we'll see what happens. But I think for me it's a different mentality. So every time when I go on the bullpen, it's way different because I know I gotta go for one inning.
Yeah.
And maybe one batter or something like that. as a starter, so I need to save my bullet for 6, 7, 8 innings.
Yeah.
The one thing we always heard about, so Corey Kluber gets traded. The one thing we always heard about him was that he had this unbelievable routine, and that a lot of you guys kind of tried to follow that, copy that. What was it about him? And first of all, when he got traded, what were your thoughts? But what were you able to learn from Kluber and how meticulous he was about his routine?
You know what? He was unbelievable. His routine is amazing. But I'm glad I was there for, 5, 6 years playing with Kluber, that I learned that too. And I think those guys that learned too, pretty much like Beaver too. So he learned from Kluber, and he started doing all that routine. And that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do, continue to do that, so there are not the young guys that can learn. And but I'm pretty sure they know what they need to do. But at the same time, I'm really happy for just getting back to the mound with those guys, and it is unbelievable.
I believe you guys are reporting on February 13th or 14th?
11th.
11th? Okay.
11, and the physical thing on the 12, but I live in on the 4.
Okay.
So I just go early. I just want to get there. I'm really hungry. I'm really excited to go back there and start throwing bullpen and just getting ready for the season.
Will you be under any restrictions at all when you get to Goodyear? Or
No.
Will you be able to pick up just as you did in 2017?
Yeah, that's what. As soon the seasons from the last game of the season just went right away. Start throwing and working out, do everything, and I'm ready to go.
Great.
Carlos, great to see you. I know the fans are excited to see you here at Tribe Fest, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you down in Goodyear.
Perfect.
Thanks
Thank you
for
very much,
joining
guys.
us.
Carlos
Thank you.
Carrasco, Indians right-hander. Great to see him. The comeback player of the year, and Bud, rightfully so. You couldn't give it to a better guy. When you think about everything he went through.
I mean, the one you could see why this organization would want him to get back to being a starter, right? He was 35 and 16 in those 2 seasons, 17 and 18. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy that, from where he came from as a young pitcher, he really had found himself before the illness.
The one thing I think about him is he could also be a nice weapon. We're going to be joined by Mike Clevenger here. Could
What's
also
up, Mike Clevenger?
be a nice weapon out of that bullpen is what we were thinking.
Yeah.
Mike Clevenger is here, Tribe right-hander. Great to see him. Mike,
see
great
you
to
guys.
see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Yep.
Repping the Grateful Dead today with the hat. I see that.
A little bit of dancing bears.
That's great. That's great. I asked Carlos this too when he stopped by. What's this like? It's the dead of winter. It's February 1st, and I know spring training's coming up, but to see Tribe fans flocking downtown to the convention center to see you guys. I know for you guys too, it's also exciting to see everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the it's the blood pumping to get ready to get out to Arizona. You can just feel it, especially coming into the stadium, getting a little work in with some of the physical stuff the other day, and coming back to your locker, and get to, all the excitement going.
Yeah, for sure.
So last season, high hopes for you, obviously, and you go through what you went through with your strained back muscle. I think you had a couple of starts after that weren't maybe what you wanted, but then you had a streak that was probably the best pitching you've ever done in baseball. Were you concerned when the injury happened that it might really kind of sabotage your season, or was it always?
I mean, it tore me up. 'Cause, I mean, obviously, especially those 2 starts coming in, I was like, okay, everything that I worked on, it's actually coming, it's working right now, and I was like on a roll. And then, especially the timeline they initially gave me, it was supposed to be potentially the whole season, at least a few months, and I was like, obviously pretty torn about that. Then I started, getting back to rehabbing or seeing my arm move a lot better. The doctor's giving us good reports back. We're getting everyone's opinion, and all of a sudden I'm throwing, 2 months ahead of schedule. So now there's a little more light at the end of the tunnel that wasn't there initially. So it kind of took, as bad as it was, it's still, now it got a little bit better. And then just getting back into the swing of things, it wasn't even about I need to log 200 innings, get 32 starts. Now we're just on a stretch to chase Minnesota, so just every game, every inning was just like a playoff inning. I think that's really what bolstered, the numbers for me coming back.
I wrote down this stat, which I think is great, from July 3rd.
Bud did a lot of homework today.
You are Mike Clevenger, right?
I pretend to be.
From July 3rd through September 24th, excluding 1 start, made 16 starts, 102 innings, had 134 strikeouts, and had a 1.76 ERA over that span. So we're talking about over 2.5 months' time, which I guess you would agree was maybe the best stretch of your major league career to that point.
I mean, definitely the best stretch of my career thus far.
And what do you attribute it to?
I mean, it's just that hunt. It was really just like we're trying to catch Minnesota, and they wouldn't stop winning. And it's like nothing we can do. And then everybody that were chasing the wild card didn't lose either. So I think that race really did help just intensify every inning for me.
You mentioned the Twins. They hit so many home runs last year, and then throughout in baseball there were so many home runs. People talk about the juice baseball and that the ball was just flying out of the ballpark. Did you notice anything different from when you would grip the ball or anything different? They talked about the laces being, I mean, is there anything?
No, I mean, you just got to, I mean, I think a lot of people are attributing how much science is now involved even on the hitting side, not just I mean, that whole launch angle and hitting the ball the right way and down on the ball and stuff, I think that helped it. But yeah, I mean, there's just guys, I mean, there's balls coming off bats, not like exactly off the barrel, they're getting out, like back in like the 90s home runs, like some looked like that in certain parks, and it was just, that's when you knew it just felt a little different, but who knows.
When you were pitching against the Twins, you didn't hear any like garbage cans banging or anything like that, did you? No.
They did that just with raw power.
I'm sorry.
There wasn't any. Speaking
No,
of
Garver just had a hanging slider.
You've had no shortage of opinions on everything that happened with the Astros.
On anything.
I do feel like there's some players, you know this too, Mike. You've been in a clubhouse with all sorts of different people. There's some guys that know it's wrong, know it's messed up, but they'll take the route of, okay, I'm not going to talk about it. You have taken a different stand. You've kind of said, hey, listen, what they did was messed up. We're not happy about it. Why do you feel that strongly and how much you voiced it compared to some guys who might not say much?
I mean, it wasn't even really like a personal vendetta. I have guys that I went through the systems with that, you know, if one thing swung their way, they could, you know, had somewhat of a career, even made it, or hit that, you know, snowball effect where now you're, you know, like heading in the right direction. But it was just that, like, we played them, we knew something was going on every time we went into Houston since I've been in the big leagues. We knew something was going on. Then me and TB knew exactly what was going on. We didn't have a smoking gun in hand, and I didn't want to look like a hippie conspiracist, and he just didn't want to look like the bad, you know, Twitter monster Trevor Bauer. So we had these talks since 2017, and there's nothing. And me and him said the whole time we were waiting, there's going to be some guy they don't sign back. There's going to be somebody they don't give the money to. Someone's that they can't hold this glue together. People know someone's going to snitch eventually. That's inside that had the stuff, and sure enough, you know,
like fires.
I don't know if you saw the Jason Stark from The Athletic, right? About who looked back at their strikeout ratio in 2017. It was historic improvement. It was improvement that wasn't seen in 100 years, especially in games played at home.
I mean, so you knew something was going on, as you said. I mean, it's just, I don't know if it seemed too easy, you know, what they were able to do. It's like, I think in baseball, there's no, I don't know how you feel about it. There's no problem with sign stealing. If people are getting your signs, you probably need better signs. That happens.
I mean, if you're getting it from second base, I can't do it. I wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's
you know?
right. But when you're using, the issue obviously is when you're using video technology and you're using things that are in the dugout, different sorts of elements, and that's where we have the major issue with all this, right?
And another major issue I think that was widespread across the league is how they went about their business. It wasn't just doing it; it's staring at a camera, talking. We need to play on 5 p.m. When does Floyd Mayweather fight? All these words, all this backlash to me when I said one thing about it in the media, and then, you know, they're going around the clubhouse trying to say stuff about me to media. All this backlash and
while they knew
what they had whole time is insane.
Yeah.
Chest out, looking down upon other people while you know you're in the worst scandal in baseball history. Insane.
Yeah, I think you said something that I thought was really dead on, and when you talked about it being in many ways worse than steroids. But why did you say that?
I don't really want to put it like a scale. I was just, if you would ask any pitcher if they would rather face, you know, Sammy Sosa without him knowing what you're throwing, or would you face an MLB average hitter and him knowing every pitch, they would always tell you to pick Sammy Sosa. And that's not going to be comfortably beat, but I'd still rather have that than Tony Kemp knowing every pitch I'm throwing.
Yeah. And Sammy had some swing and miss. A little bit.
There's some holes in that. There's some holes in that.
Right. You can get around that a little bit. I don't know how much you look at you look at the schedule at all, but I was talking with Tom Hamilton, the voice of the Indians, the other day. You guys open at home against, you open at home, it's going to be cold. Then you go to Detroit and Minnesota, it's going to be cold. You take on Tampa, it's going to be cold. It's here in Cleveland. You've got like the first 40 games are in cold weather places.
It's the same thing last year too. I don't know how we didn't learn from last year.
I don't know if that. I mean, they say it takes the bats a little time to warm up and stuff. But for a pitcher, when you go from Arizona now to all these cold weather places, how will you deal with that?
I mean, that's just, nature of the beast. I mean, it's not really, you can complain, but who cares? I mean, no one cares. You got to go pitch, you got to go pitch.
Yeah.
But, I think part of it, helps us later. Just get weather hard later. We had games in Texas where it's 127 on the ground on-field temperature. I think, maybe starting out in the tough situations will make it easier when we get into the springtime, the summertime.
I've always said I want to go to the cocktail party where they put the schedule together. Yeah. It's an open bar. They do a great job, I think.
They wait till the bar is closed, I think.
That's right. Then they come out after.
Yeah, you've had one of the great four-seam fastballs and sliders in the league over the last few years. Is there anything that you feel like you can do even better coming into this season? Is there any part of your game that you're trying to pay attention to?
You're refining the curveball, especially the changeup. That thing was a hit or miss. I didn't know if it was either going to be really good or really bad. I can't really have that variance on a pitch going to a game, or at least use it with confidence or in any big situation. So been refining both those this offseason. It's actually been really well.
Do you know that coming out of the bullpen, or do you have to try to throw it in games to find out whether it's...
You never really know. Adrenaline's, a hell of a thing. And so, once you get out there, so sometimes I'll throw an amazing bullpen, and I am not anything on the mound. So it goes both ways.
So you've got 11 days until you get until pitchers and catchers are to report. When do you get out to Arizona? And the time is just flying.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Fly back, pack my stuff up in my house, and I'm back on a flight to Arizona the 7th, I think.
Wow. It seems like everything's earlier this year.
Yeah.
You got the 26th, you open up. Spring training is starting earlier, but a lot of you guys are putting in so much work in the off season now. I don't think that this is like
there's no off season.
Yeah, it's not like it used to be. Guys would go to spring training when Bud was covering baseball. The guys would go there to get in shape.
Talk about 100 years ago. Hey, so do you watch much of and pay attention to much of what the Twins and White Sox have done this year, and what do you make of it, their off seasons?
This is going to be exciting. Like I said, I'm really glad they went after a lot of righties, big righties. But no, it's good. I think the AL Central is going to take a big turn. I think it's just good to see teams trying to win. You want to compete out there. You don't want to. Not that it's not obviously you want to win every game, but playing rebuilding teams all the time, you want that competitive, balance. So when you do go to the postseason, you're ready. And not that you're. I feel like that helps. It helps the game too. Just grow the game.
There was talk a couple of years ago when you guys were winning the division and no one was challenging you, and then all of a sudden the playoffs come and you're going 100 miles an hour, and it's like, oh man, they kind of just cruised. I guess to have teams pushing you too would be something that's a good thing, and here we are. It seems like you're going to have that no matter what.
Yeah, no, and I think this is going to be, at least since I've been in the big leagues here in the AL Central, one of the most competitive, all around it's been.
Yeah, there was a lot of focus on the Twins. What did you see of the White Sox last year, and how much do you think they've improved themselves?
They've definitely taken big strides. I'm just watching Eloy. That's one guy, I just watching him, just his plate discipline just this year. I watched him the first time facing him till the end, him, just approach he's taken. I can tell, guys like Abreu, who's, a very, very smart hitter, and that's a guy you can't look at, a whole scouting report. You kind of got to pitch to him day by day because he's going to try to pick you apart with certain zones. And I know he's been with these young guys over there, and they're going to be a scary team, but it's going to be fun.
Corey Kluber's gone. Will it be weird not having him around? He was a big part of that starting rotation for you guys.
Yeah, he's like the staple of the whole startup of the whole starting pitcher and the depth. And we knew that we had depth in starting pitching, so we knew something had to be done. And it's going to suck not having his presence, and not I think every one of us looked at his body of work and kind of took a piece from it to put in our routine. Yeah. And that was something that was really incredible to watch.
Is it the same with Trevor? That people took some stuff from him also?
Yeah,
I know you did personally, but
everybody did. Everybody did, 100%.
We hear that word routine. Was there anything specific that you can share about Kluber that makes him, separates him from something you were able to pick up? Because I think for the longest time we've heard, Kluber's got this routine. Was there anything specific you could share of wow, okay, I've never seen this, I want to do this?
What I really liked from it is routines. I think people take it very literally. I think I didn't like routines. I didn't like to be confined, have to do the same thing over and over again. It's not even like the routine. His checkup on his body, it might be different, a little bit different each day. But I've got a shoulder ailment today. I got my knees barking, my hips barking. This whole different exercises, mobility work, training room stuff, and and just seeing how he can self-diagnose with the trainers each day and day out. That's what I do every day.
And what did pitching with Trevor Bauer mean to you? What did you take away from his approach?
Yeah, he's a brainiac when it comes to everything with biomechanics, and he's helped me tremendously. And he's one of the dudes that got a bad rap for a lot of dumb things, but he's one of the dudes that take the most time out his day to like spend with you and get you right.
I mean, you guys are close. I mean, you feel like sometimes he's just misread, or maybe people don't.
I just don't think people don't like. I mean, if people say they want honesty, and then you give them
Until they
honesty,
get it.
yeah. I mean, I just don't think he really goes. Obviously, everyone crosses the line sometimes, but I think a lot of the stuff he gets in trouble for is just being really honest.
And I was cool with everything until he chucked that ball over the center field wall in Kansas City. I think he would take that back if he could. That was the one thing I said. Wait a minute.
I was mostly
Tito's reaction was.
I was mostly impressed. I was really impressed with that.
How did he make it over? That's 400 feet.
Between that and the kid asking for a towel in Kansas City is my two favorite moments in baseball so far. Called time for a towel.
Mike, we appreciate you stopping by.
Hey, thanks, man.
Mike Clevenger, Indians right-hander, nice enough to spend some time with us here at Tribe Fest. We're at the Convention Center, and we're going to be joined now by Bradley Zimmer. It's nice to see him. But I'll tell you what, we've got this right now. We've been picking up the starting rotation here. We got 2 of the 5 that have swung by. Now we're going to head out to the outfield here and sit down. Bradley, great to see you.
There we go. Now I can hear you guys.
It's good to see you because I feel like now, as we talk to you, it's a fresh start. It's a new beginning. We're gonna not forget last year, but we could move on from that, right? I mean, it's an all new season for you. It's 2020, and this is are you taking that approach?
Absolutely. I think last year was obviously honestly I'd rather just stay away from last year.
Yeah.
It was a frustrating year for me just with injuries, and I wish it upon nobody. It's not a fun time, but on the flip side of that, I'm totally healthy now. My body feels great, and I'm ready. Ultimately, I'm ready to get back on the field and compete.
Yeah, I think it was surgery was July of 2018, correct?
Right. Yeah.
At that time, what was the forecast for how long it might take?
I think it took the whole timetable was 12 to 14 months. It ended up taking that amount of time, but at the beginning I was ahead of schedule, so it seemed longer than it was, but really it took the full duration that it was supposed to.
How much did you learn about yourself, you think, last year? And I promise we'll start talking 2020, but how much did you learn about yourself?
I mean, you have a lot of alone time for sure, and it humbles you. I think it took me back to almost before I got to the big leagues, that feeling of that hunger and just desire to get back on the field. So the time down definitely makes you appreciate the time on the field, and makes you really eager and hungry to get back. So I'm really, really excited for this year, just to be physically healthy and get back out and just have fun playing baseball, man.
While you were out last year, obviously, Oscar Mercado came up and had a nice season. These guys have made a deal with Delino DeShields this year. How do you look at the competition in the outfield and where you might fit in, or are you trying not to look at it as this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just happy to be healthy and get back playing, having fun playing baseball. I think the more you think about that stuff, and it can kind of cloud your thoughts. And I know personally that I can be on this team at any point in time. And obviously we have a lot of good outfielders and players that have contributed the last couple of years. And, there's no doubt in my mind that I can be right there with them and helping the team, get back to winning a championship.
I think in sports and in life, it's so like, what have you done for me lately? And I was hosting a radio talk show the other day, and we were talking about the Indians outfield situation, and me and this guy were going back and forth. He goes, well, there's so many questions with the Indians outfield. I said, well, you got Bradley Zimmer coming back. And the guy said, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, you could be perceived as almost like an acquisition. I mean, you really weren't last year was such a tough year. I mean, I wonder if you can just come in fresh now and be like, hey, listen, we don't need to add anybody, or we don't need to go get someone or trade. You could be a guy that is out
100%.
there. Yeah.
I think from a front office standpoint, it's hard to count on somebody when you've been injured.
Yeah.
So they have to go out and make moves and get guys that are healthy and have been playing. So, that's out of my control, but I know they know that I can be that guy that I was and can continue to be. So, like I said, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to be there and I'm going to be contributing right away. Like I said, I'm going to be healthy from day one spring training. and excited and hungry to get back out there. So,
what weren't you able to do leading up to that surgery? How was the shoulder affecting what you were trying to do?
It was everything.
Everything?
It was really everything. Throwing was the hardest part, but it's just everything. I mean, I was just cautious with everything because it was hurting, and it's tough.
And how long had you been dealing with that? That wasn't an overnight thing, right?
No, it was for the majority of 2018.
Has there ever been a part of you where you, and maybe this is part of what you learned last year about yourself, where you've almost had to say, okay, sometimes I need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit? Because I think of, you know who I think of, Bud? I think of Grady Sizemore a little bit. Like this guy, when he was coming up, was like, he was like Trout before Trout. I mean, he was unbelievable, but he ran into so many injuries, and it was all. I mean, he was playing 162 games, and he was just going 110. Is there ever a part of you kind of says, okay, I got to rein it in a little bit, just to look at the big picture of things?
Yeah, I think after being hurt, you realize that you have to take care of your body, and if you're not healthy, you can't play. So that's definitely something that I've worked on and understood that I maybe need to understand my surroundings a little better. But at the end of the day, I'm going to play hard and do what I got to do to help our team win. But with that said, I think there's definitely a give and take on playing smart.
Well, last year, late August, early September, you had a really good stretch in Columbus before you got called up here
Right.
and got back to not playing regularly. Yeah. Was that at least validating to you that you were back?
Yeah, man. It was tough because I was kind of like forced into playing again just because it got so late that I wanted to play so bad, so I just was playing still not 100%, but nonetheless I was playing. So, but I mean, it helped me just get my confidence back and know that I can do this and I can be on this team. So I think that was a good leap. Ending the season there, being able to play and be somewhat healthy, and now being 100% healthy and being able to go do my thing.
What do you think about this club in general? I got to admit, I was surprised that you guys didn't win the division last year. The Minnesota Twins they lived up to their hype. There were some people saying, this team's not a fluke. I wasn't buying them because I didn't think they had the pitching, but they really came in and had a nice year. They won the division. All of a sudden, you've got the Chicago White Sox who are spending funny money, it seems like. I mean, So how do you perceive this club versus those other teams? Because, hey, you guys got knocked off the pedestal last year.
Yeah, I mean, we were in it to the last week of the season last year. So, I don't see much changing. Obviously, the competition in our division is getting a little stiffer, but we've proven that we can own this division, and we have the talent and the staff and just like the team camaraderie to be there. So I think it's going to be more competitive than maybe the last 3 years, but we're at every bit as good as the rest of them.
Well, one thing you guys learned early last year with Kluber injury, Clevenger injury, that there was a lot more, not more depth, but more immediate help from the pitching depth. Do you still feel pretty good about where this club is pitching-wise, even though Kluber, Bauer are gone?
Yeah, I think, Bieber obviously stepped up. I think he's going to be able to, him and Clever are going to be able to take the shoes of Kluber pretty easily. And, everyone else. And Carrasco's back. I don't see, much of a change. I think our pitching is still going to be a very big, strong suit for us. And I think we have every bit of confidence in them as we have the last 5 years.
A lot of the talk this offseason, I hope we don't hit this too much today, Bud, but a lot of the talk this offseason has been about what happened with the Houston Astros. We just talked to Mike Clevenger. He's very outspoken about it. And there's been some guys who've been more reserved about it. But just the magnitude of it, and when we all kind of found out what was going on to its core, I mean, was that even, I know some of you guys had a hunch of some things going on, but was that pretty surprising to you that the team would go at that length to do all that?
Yeah, I think we didn't think they would go as far as they did, but everyone knew to a certain extent that there was definitely something going on. I don't really want to get too far into it, but I think, it sucks hearing that.
Yeah.
As a player and a competitor, it sucks hearing that, and knowing guys on the team that they're engaging in that, if it's true or not. You hate to see it. I think the integrity of the game is a big part of it, and whatever happens from here on out is what it is. But yeah, I think it's definitely not taken lightly.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Bradley, we appreciate you stopping
thanks.
by.
Yeah,
Great
thank
to
you guys.
see you.
Good luck to you.
Yeah,
And
appreciate
good luck in 2020.
All right,
Hope
thanks,
for better,
guys.
better things going forward.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, when you think about some of the guys we've talked to and you think about him, and when you showed me the list before we did the show, I was kind of like, oh, that's right. He's here too, and if he could just stay healthy, and he runs like a gazelle. He plays the outfield well.
Yeah.
A little bit of swing and miss in the swing sometimes, but I think he could be a nice contributor.
You heard that.
That's okay.
No, I'm kidding. No, he
knows.
He's one of those guys that that you almost, when he's really playing his best, he looks like a guy who can change games. You know what I mean?
I agree
and
with
it's
that.
not. I don't. It sounds like a trite thing to say, but I'm just mean the way he runs the bases.
He's got
the way
that stride that's like,
the way
from here to
the ground he covers in the outfield. He's never, unless something happens with Mercado, he's not going to see center field again, probably, right?
No, I would think he could probably be like your fourth outfielder, or platoon. And
one of the things that I want to talk to Francona about a little bit. Francona gets a lot of credit for how he handles bullpens.
Yeah.
If you look at the number of outfielders that have started games for this organization over the last 5 years, there were something like 15.
Come on.
In 2017.
He likes those hybrids that can play the
I think he
infield.
would rather put Bell, Lofton, Ramirez out
Yes,
there.
I agree with
every
that.
day.
I agree with that. I think that they're, I'm thinking of Mike Aviles and Ryan Rayburn. Like, these are the guys they'll use.
Yeah.
I mean,
but when you look at the list of guys that have come in and out and played,
that is interesting.
like Daniel Robertson. Do you remember that name?
Yes,
He played
I do.
started an outfield game. So, I mean, the fact that they have a lot of options is nice, but you would like to see guys come and really win those jobs.
Yeah.
And provide that offense that, especially out of the right field and left field positions, kind of that power offense. And maybe these guys aren't here yet. Maybe that guy will be Fernando Reyes.
Let's tell it like it is. And hey, we appreciate being here at Tribe Fest.
Yeah.
A lot of that has been because of
Money.
payroll.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
he's starting all these outfielders because that's how he has to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's that's
Yeah.
it is what it is.
But I mean, to do that with a limited payroll, without guys that you can, Mike Hargrove being able to just say, "Here's the guy. They're starters for a reason. I'm going to put them out there every day." Where he's had to Francona's had to be a lot more creative with the outfield guys. We're talking about a team that's probably going to have around a $90 million payroll this year, going into the season.
$55 million higher than the Pirates.
Is that right?
Someone said their payroll's at $45 million. The Pittsburgh Pirates.
And, 2 years ago we were looking at $135 million.
Yeah.
So
it's gone down.
It's gone down. Over the last 3 years now, and it's going to, that raises challenges for organizations, as we well know, and for managers. But he's done really well with it here.
How was your relationship with Mark Shapiro? Were you guys okay? Okay. So
I mean, a guy that
very smart.
Welcomed you to call him if you had questions.
Okay.
Was sometimes not happy with the fact that you wrote an opinion about something
Sure.
without calling him because
Okay.
he thought you might have gotten it wrong.
I bring him up because
But he was fine. He was always very helpful to me and very professional.
Okay, because I bring him up because he said for the longest time, hey, when you're in this type of middle to lower market, you're going to have a window. Okay, you're going to have a window of opportunity where when you get that chance, you got to win it because you don't know when you're going to go back. Well, Bud, I think about this team, and I'm not saying the window's closing at all. I feel like we've heard that a lot over the years, but let's go back 2016. They're in Game 7 of the World Series. 2017, they win 102 games. They get bounced by the Yankees. That's a series they shouldn't have lost. The Yankees were a year early still. Then they get swept by the cheating Astros. But I think of Shapiro's words, though, and I say, man, this is that, we're kind of in that window here, and they haven't done it yet. So do you buy that in this market? You're only going to get an opportunity in a couple of years, and then you got to kind of re-rack things.
Yeah, I mean, mostly because you get players like Lindor or you get Encarnacion for a few years, and you know that you can't afford to keep him.
Yeah.
You're not going to sign him to that 6-year, $200 million contract, but you're willing to go 3 years for $60 million, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, Paul Dolan got in trouble for saying it a few years ago, where you know you make a run at a World Series and then you have to recycle and then you make another run. And people are like, what do you mean? You have to be able to do that every year, you know. Yeah, ideally, and I'm sure if you're Terry Francona and managing the Boston Red Sox, that's how you look at things because of the payroll. But I think he'd be the first to say that he likes being here as a manager, and even though there are payroll constraints, this has been a very good organization.
Yeah.
And I think people are smart enough that when they criticize payroll, they don't hold it against the front office. I think the front office has done a really good job here over a number of years.
I have like conflicting battles in my own head about this all the time, and I don't know how I should feel. The Kansas City Royals did it. They got their World Series.
Yep.
They got their first World Series since the 1985 club. They got that series.
Yep.
Saying that, I don't know that we'll be able to find them with a telescope for the next 20 years. So I've said to myself, okay, would I rather have the Indians be competitive and having a chance to win it 8 to 9 to 10 years in a row, or win it and then we can't find you in another stratosphere for 20 years? I mean, but the Royals, the Tigers, we're not going to hear from those teams for a while.
Yeah.
But the Royals have that World Series. So,
Yeah.
like how the Indians are doing business, are you okay with it?
I am. You know, it sounds like you're making excuses, but let's face it. I think they were a rain delay away from winning a World Championship in 2016. And had they done that, and I know that's a big if, but had they done that, would the Dolans and the Indians suddenly be a great organization? No, they'd be the same organization, a good one,
That's true.
that won a World Series. So I don't think you can say, well, they haven't won anything and they're not spending. My only criticism right now is that it's very clear to everyone that Frankie Lindor is not in their long-range plans, right? And they can't afford him. It's not I'm not blaming the organization, but I'm just saying that's pretty clear.
But I'm not arguing with you.
So while he's here,
because I have to sit here for 2 more hours with you, but there's 27 other clubs that couldn't afford Frankie Lindor.
and that was half of my point.
Okay.
What I'm saying is because we all accept that that's the fact and would be
Yeah.
the fact in a lot of other markets, I think you need to spend while he's here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
If this still feels like a little bit of it's maybe
You're
not
saying
wide open.
why not go for it if you know I got what you're
Yeah.
saying. Okay.
And that doesn't mean you spend $200 million right now. I'm not saying that, but I don't know that you can cut it down as much as they have and still say to people, hey, we probably can't sign Lindor, but we're also not going to chase it while he's here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they would argue this, I know, and maybe we'll pose it to Francona because he'll say, we are chasing it. What are you talking about?
Well,
You know?
here's what I think they'll say is they want to make sure they're in a good place after he's gone. You know, if you go all in, then all of a sudden we're doing what the Royals were doing. You know what I mean? Who's coming up? This is going to be Zach Plesac. Okay, Zach Plesac going to be joining us.
How are you?
Nick and Bud, good to see you. Sit down.
Bud Shaw, nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Yeah, it's great to see you. We continue along from Tribe Fest here at the Convention Center. The who's who of Indians baseball, Nick Camino and Bud Shaw with you on the WKYC app, Facebook Live, WKYC.com. Zach Plesac is now joining us. Zach, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
I always say in the dead of winter, this has to be an exciting time for you, right? Before going off to spring training, seeing all the fans and some of the guys. I mean, there's a record number of players that have come to this, too.
It's definitely exciting. Just it feels, it's season's coming in here. It's closer than we think, so we're excited to get moving. Just the off season's wrapping up. We're finishing up our last phase of our strength and conditionings, so just really getting excited to move forward, get to Arizona and start competing.
You're in a much different place than you were last year. Where were you last year professionally, just to catch people up?
Man,
it's been a whirlwind, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and that's what I'm just talking to everyone, just trying to explain how everything kind of happened. It was so fast, and the adjustments I had to make were so abrupt. I had to fill a role, so I couldn't be the guy coming in being timid. I couldn't come in there worried, so I had to just be confident, come in there and help us win. We were in a spot in the season where we were winning games, and we needed to win games. It was tight, the race all the way to the end. So there was a point, where I felt I was willing guys out. I didn't feel like I had my best stuff, and just making adjustments and just really competing. So just everything happened super quick. And just kind of relied on the preparation I did, and the resources around me, my teammates and guys who I could ask questions to, and made me more comfortable in the clubhouse and then on the field, and just let me really be myself.
In February last year, where are you thinking you're going to open the season?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to Akron.
Double A, right?
Yeah, Akron. It was funny. I was rooming with Sam Henches and Ben Krauth, and I had this little, like an attic spot I was staying in, and I was getting ready to post up all. I had it all set up, like I was moving in for the summer, and I was there for a month. So it happened quick.
You were not a big league camp.
No, yeah.
All right, I need to ask this the right way, okay? And
boy.
If I don't ask this the right way,
Don't
then
blame
you,
me if
that,
he doesn't.
yeah, just, you can walk off now. You go through, okay, you start the year, you're not in big league camp, you go to Double A, you go to Triple A, then you end up going, you get into the big leagues. I need to ask this with all due respect to the game of Major League Baseball. Was there a point for you where you said, this isn't as difficult as was there a process of wait, I can do this. This isn't impossible. You know what I'm saying there?
Yeah,
you make your way up the ladder, and then all of a sudden you're in the big leagues, and
Yeah.
you're winning games, and it's like, wait a minute, this and no disrespect to baseball and these major league hitters. I don't want them to hear this. This isn't impossible is what I'm trying to say.
I think, just what happened is, you move up, or even the competition gets better. It's like you tend to level up too, so it's almost like you're adapting and you're evolving as the people around you are. So I think that's just kind of how it went. It's not that it was easy by any means, Double A wasn't easy, so it was. Everything's been a grind. You just got to really just laser tight focus, and everything kind of just gets more fine when you move up, and just really just kind of adapting and evolving, and just kind of holding myself to high expectations, setting good goals. Keep holding myself accountable is what I had to do. I couldn't just accept where we were. I had to stay strict. Just
it happened really quickly, and you go to AAA on May 11th, I believe, and immediately go 3-0. Did you sense a step up in competition?
Yeah, I mean, I was feeling good too. I was on a great stretch of everything. All my pitches were, everything was good. So I never really thought of it as the competition. I was just always trying to tighten up what I had in my toolbox. So once everything kind of tightened itself up, it played up to whatever level I was at. Then. It also helped having guys like Berto behind the plate who were amazing at game calling, and just having trust in them and what they did for my pitches in the zone, helping me get strikes and all that stuff. So, it all kind of plays together, with who you got behind with you, and then, the game plan you make for yourself.
When you go to Columbus in May, are you thinking, I'll probably end up being here most of the season?
Yeah, I had no clue. I thought I was going to be – I got told I was going to be there for a start, maybe 2 starts.
Really?
Yeah. And then,
wow.
So then I get there, and then – the manager, Tony Manzolino, he says, what they tell you, you're here, so he said, get your stuff and, find a place to live.
Move out of the attic?
Yeah, get out of the attic. Yeah, and I got out of there, and next thing you know, we're in Columbus, and then, it was 2 weeks later, and then we're in Boston.
Yeah, that quick, that trajectory.
Yeah.
I mean,
what was that start like for you in hindsight when you look back at it?
It was really, when you say it's a dream, it really is. It almost doesn't seem real. But the crazy thing about that game was the nerves were through the roof, obviously. And, there was the rain delay. Got to go sit for an hour and a half in the clubhouse. And honestly, I think that relieved all the tension I had and the worry, the anxiety. It almost was the second time I went to go warm up after the rain delay. It was like I've been here before, it was more relaxed. I was playing catch, and I was like, this is, been here. So it kind of relaxed everything in me, and I just trusted the game plan.
That was in Boston, right?
Yeah, it was at Fenway.
Had you been to Fenway?
Never been to Fenway.
Huh.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's on the mound. Fenway. No big deal.
The craziest thing I like to look back is I've never played on a big league field until I got in the big leagues. A lot of these guys go to the perfect game or these tournaments, all this stuff, and I never got to step on a big league field and play a game of baseball until I was in the big league. So that's something even being on the field at all was cool. Now we're playing for my first start here in Fenway. It was that's why it seems surreal.
Did you go out and touch the wall or anything?
Yeah, that's a funny story. It was raining that day, obviously, and I'm with my agent, and I wanted a fresh pair of shoes to warm up in before the game, and the all-new, LeBron's Lotas came out, and I had to get them, so we got them that day in Boston. It's raining, and I got to get loose running poles on the track, and these brand-new white shoes on the dirt. I'm like, this is what big leaguers do. I don't know. These are brand-new shoes, so I wore my brand-new LeBrons out there, on the track, and just
That's
wrecked
so
them.
cool.
But yeah, it was cool. It was funny.
I'm sure your parents are thrilled for you, but one of your biggest fans is probably your uncle, right?
Yeah.
Dan I know he's probably been a mentor for you, somebody you've looked up to. Can you talk to us about that relationship that you have? A lot of people see him on MLB Network now doing a great job.
Yeah, this is a special thing to be able to share with him, growing up, like, with my brothers, just seeing the things he was doing and just, like, I don't think he understood how much we respected him and really looked up to him, as his nephews, So it's something cool to just even be involved with what he was doing, and then to be able to share the experience now for him has got to be nuts, He has 2 daughters, so he has, I didn't have any boys to play baseball with, so it's almost like I feel like in a way his son, in that role. So it's really cool to be able to like talk to him and all the questions he's told me, all the things. He's like, everything you went through, he's like, I went through that too and more. He's like, you just got to trust in yourself, things like that, and things might get rocky. He's like, but you got to stay true in your soul, just know who you are and take care of what you got to take care of, and then all the rest kind of settles out. But it was really cool to be able to share that experience with him.
So what are you trying to do this year pitching-wise? Are you comfortable with what you threw last year and how it worked, or you've been working on something?
Yeah, I've had a big focus this offseason, just really getting into good power positions in my delivery. Worked on some things I kind of got away from at the end of the season last year. Tightened a bunch of things up, getting a good hinge patterns and driving the ball with true. It's got true spin, new curveball grip, which is working for me really well. And I think everything's going to start playing up. All my pitches are tightening up just based on the movements I'm doing and working on. So I'm really excited to start establishing everything that I have and being able to put together a good game plan and put together a good season.
Where did you do your off-season work?
I was in St. Pete. Me and Clev, we were living together in St. Pete, training down in Tampa. We go Tampa in the morning, lift weights, come home, eat some lunch, and then we actually closer to Clearwater. We're training at Diesel Fitness down there, and they got 2 locations. So we come home, eat lunch after weights, maybe not even shower, maybe relax for right before dinner. We go to Clearwater after that, and then we hit like a med ball band routine, more like maintenance stuff. So what we want to do is just get a lot of reps of what I was trying to work on, getting good positions that we can really gain leverage and drive the ball down the mound. So, we got a lot of reps, hitting 2-a-days for most of the offseason. Living out there in the sunshine, playing catch, and just kind of like having a good, easy mind, free.
Are you consciously trying to add miles an hour to your fastball, or are you fine with where you're at?
I mean, yeah, I think I definitely would love to add a couple ticks. I think just getting in these positions that I'm talking about is going to help a lot, and I know the life of the ball is different. I have 2 breaking pitches now that I feel really confident in, and my changeup, I have a lot of confidence in that too. So I'm really thinking I'm starting to put together something where I have a full set of tools, and I'm confident in everything I have, and now let's go rock, so that's where I'm at.
I was just going to say, so what's that bring us to? 5 pitches you throw?
4.
Mm-hmm. It's not like the Bauer 12 that he said that he thought, so 4. Okay.
Yeah.
The strength of this ball club is probably the starting rotation. And so how do you view yourself? I mean, it feels like there's going to be a competition for a couple of spots, and there's probably a lot of arms and only a few spots. So how throughout your life have you viewed just a competition? I know you probably just got to focus on yourself, but and some of the talent that you have on this club to make it.
I think it's going to be really good for us to have that competition. It's going to bring the energy to spring training. It's going to bring make everyone kind of make sure they're on their stuff. So I'm excited. I prepared all off season for this. It's more about just kind of taking care of what you can. We're trying to go out there and win games at the end of the day. So I think we are deep. We have arms, and we're going to use that, and I think have a great season because of it. So I'm excited to see how it plays out for sure.
Got any stories you can tell us about Clevenger as a roommate?
Yeah, I mean,
we have to turn the camera off.
Yeah, no, yeah, shut up. No, but it's cool, man. We just good environment, man. We're really just taking care of what we have to, and when you live with someone, there's arguments, and there's certain things that annoy you about people, but it's so cool that we're always able to hash things out. We're always able to, not that we've been in any arguments, but it's we've always been able to kind of make sure we're both doing exactly how we'd want to do it, so everything's super cool, man. And we've been working really hard this off season. We have 2 dogs, we each have a dog, and they live together. They're mini Bernedoodles.
Get out.
Yeah, so they've been living with us. We were gonna bring them, but it was gonna be too much, so we had to leave them back. But
what are their names?
Lola, Rose, and then Cloudy Days. It was cloudy and sunshine. That's why.
But I'm walking around WKYC studios getting ready for a sportscast one day, and all of a sudden I look, and it's Zach and Mike Clevenger with these two puppies.
Yeah.
And they're in front of the weather screen, and I'm like, what's going on here? I think Betsy invited them. I'm like, these two dogs, these two guys with these two
what
little
happens when
dogs.
you guys start traveling for the season?
No.
They come.
Hey, they'll figure it out, right? Just leave them at home, food out. No, they'll be taken care of. Good.
That's good to hear.
So they're doing okay because they were pretty brand new, right? When you brought them to the TV station.
No, yeah, they've grown up a little bit. They've probably gained almost 20 pounds. Yeah, so they're like 25 pounds.
Okay,
mid-size.
I thought they stayed that small. Okay.
No.
Okay.
They're like mid-size. Yeah,
Okay.
they're super cool. Super cool. They're like cuddle bugs, man. Yeah, they're awesome.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
they're fun. They're fun.
Well, I can't believe that we are just 11 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training. But I got to believe guys like you have been training, like you said, 2 days and stuff. Mm-hmm. You kind of have the itch to get there, right?
Absolutely,
now?
yeah. There's definitely, I forgot who was. Yeah, we were just talking about just it's fun to hit weights and do your strength and conditioning, but there's a point where we're like, all right, let's get out, and start throwing at some guys. Let's get out and start competing. So you definitely feel like it's getting close. So it is getting close, and I'm excited. It's got 11 days. We're out in Arizona and ready to rock, man.
We got to let you go in a couple minutes here,
Yeah.
but what do you see when you look around the division at Minnesota and Chicago in particular?
I mean, they added some guys, man. It's gonna be, it's gonna be a race. It's exciting. It's gonna be some good competition. We're gonna be up in some battles. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get the opportunity. So we'll see kind of how everything plays out, how guys do their roles. We're just worried about what we can take care of right now. So I think we got something good going on.
Zach, we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of Tribe Fest. I know the
appreciate
fans
you.
are excited to see
Thanks,
you.
man.
And
Good
That's
talking
awesome.
to you.
Thank
see
you
you down
guys.
at spring training.
Sounds
Zach
good.
Plesac, Indians right-hander. Great to see him. And, man, I'll tell you what, we're ticking off this starting rotation. And there's going to be a competition for some spots in that starting rotation. And will he be a part of it? I don't know.
Guys never feel the smart ones never really feel like they've made it. You don't go to a camp thinking, hey, guess what? I was 8-6 with a 3.81 ERA last year. I got this one made. You can't do that. I mean, if people understood how competitive these positions are in Major League Baseball, and how these guys have to prove themselves every day, almost in spring training, let alone every year. I mean, some guys obviously they're not cutting Frankie Lindor. You heard that here first, all right? Yeah. But
Breaking news.
Some of these other guys are, they know that they got a lot of work ahead of them, even though they.
How come you don't ask any? How come hey, Tito, good to see you.
What's up, Terry? How are you?
How come you
Good
don't
to
ask
see
any of the players about the Royals and the Tigers? How come you keep asking everyone?
Well, because I was saving those for.
Oh, you're
Terry.
going to save those for Tito. Okay, I was just curious. Tito Francona is joining us now. Great to see you, Skip.
Guys, how you doing?
We're doing
Good.
well.
I heard something good about you in golf.
Yeah.
About a pro-am?
Somebody's lying.
About a pro-am or something?
No, I actually stunk.
Get out.
No, I stunk it up.
I heard you broke 90 all 4
No,
days.
I broke 90. The first day was a practice day. I was 1 under after 14. Then when it counted, the wind picked up and I got old. And it was hard. You have to walk. You can't drive.
Right. Oh,
that's
and
right.
I felt like I played football. And it was hard.
So you play four rounds,
Yeah.
and you're walking the whole.
Yeah, you play with the LPGA, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Except when they're like 40 yards ahead of you. And you play with another either football player or baseball player. So like played with Brian Urlacher, Marcus Allen. It's really fun. But after 4 days of walking, I've had it.
That's
Who was your LPGA partner?
Inji Chun, who's a 24-year-old little Korean girl, and I mean,
She was hitting it past
wanted to adopt her. It was really, they make it fun because, they're out there playing for a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they allow us to kind of have fun, and it's a good time.
I figured we'd start with golf and Arizona Wildcats basketball.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Those
you're
are
in
the
good
two
shape.
things. I mean, you
the
guys-
Wildcat basketball team, they're finding a way to lose lately, but
They'll be around in March.
Yes, they will. They're going to have 3 first-round picks.
That's right.
They're young. They're young, but they're really talented.
All right, let's talk a little baseball.
All right,
We're 11
all
days
right.
away from pitchers and catchers reporting to Goodyear, Arizona. Is it amazing how quick it's gone? I mean, the calendar flipped, and we're here, Tito.
You know what? Once you get to Christmas, it's so fast. Like it just, like your internal clock too. It, there's. Like I went to a golf tournament, then I come here, and I'm going to go up to Goodyear on Tuesday. Oh, wow. I'm going to fly home tomorrow. I'm going to pack up my house. I'm going to throw like 3 pair of jeans in a bag and go to Goodyear. And here we go again.
Is Millsy coming over to help you pack?
No, Millsy tries to stay away from me as long as he can because he knows once we're together 24/7, and he's about had it by the time we're done.
Well, this is your 8th season with the Indians, which
fast.
Matches the 8 that you had in Boston.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that it's gone by this quickly.
It is. It's amazing how fast it goes.
I assume you still love it and want to do it, or you wouldn't be.
No, I do. You know what? The way I explain it is when the year's over, it's harder for me to re-energize. Doesn't mean I love the game any less, but it's harder physically. And there's no getting around that. But I still love the game every bit as much as I ever have, and I feel as competitive as I ever have. I mean, I remember when I first came here 8 years ago, I said I didn't come here to go to pasture. We want to win.
I remember that.
And that's how I feel. Sometimes it's a different atmosphere or different circumstances, but the desire to win is no less.
When I first met Terry, Bart Swain introduced me and said he's from Philadelphia originally, and your response was, "Don't hold that against me," because the seasons you had as a Phillies manager, but you haven't had a losing season now in Major League Baseball as a manager since that 2000 season in Philadelphia. Wow. And obviously this stop has provided some challenges with a different kind of payroll than you had in Boston.
Right. They're different. You're right. They're different neighborhoods, but we do it different ways. It's easy to talk about the challenges or maybe the lack of things maybe you don't have. What I prefer to look at is what we do have, and that's the people, and that's why I'm here. If it wasn't for the people, I wouldn't have come here in the first place, and I don't think I'd still be here. But I love doing what we do together. I really do. I mean, we have our moments. Shoot, I was just laughing with Cherney. Me and Cherney have had some knockdown dragouts. But when we leave the room, I might be mad at him, but somebody else better not say something about him. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're like brothers, and we care about each other, and I know they care about me. And it makes me want to stay here, and it makes me want to win here.
Give him the stat on the outfielders that he's used.
I was talking about,
this is great.
You and other
This isn't going to make me feel good, is it?
You and other managers have, deservedly gotten credit for the way you handle bullpens. But my point was that I think in 2017 you guys had 15 outfielders start games for you. The last couple of years it's been 11 each.
Yeah.
That's taken some juggling in it on its own, not just by the manager but also the organization.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I used to tell when people would ask me about Brantley, I'd say wind him up and send him out. And that's kind of what I meant. You didn't platoon him. You just let him play, give him a day off when he needs it. For different reasons, we've had guys at different points in their careers. And then we've had injuries to boot. Right. Like right when Naquin seems to be catching his stride, he gets hurt. So there's been things, Lonnie Chisenhall kept getting hurt. With the emergence of Oscar Mercado, that's exciting. This is a kid that we think is going to get better as he plays, which is really good. With Franmil, how much do we play him in the outfield? That's something that we're going to have to find out in spring training, because dependent on where he plays, then that maybe gives us another slot for a DH bat. But those are things we have to answer. Can Jordan Luplow, can he take more of a load than just playing against lefties? My instincts tell me yeah, but again, some of that's going to be on how they play.
When you look at your bullpen situation now with these new rules that are coming in, I know you're not crazy about the 3-batter.
That's to put it lightly.
Yeah. That's the clean version here.
Yeah, that's.
Will that, do you think, dictate who you could take and all that stuff, if you have just like a lefty specialist or something?
Already right now we have Oliver Perez and Adam Simber, who are basically, that's what they kind of came up as our specialists.
Yeah. You had Perez face a few righties, but
yeah, right. But now they're going to have to. And it's going to be something that we're going to have to work on in spring training, because when the season starts, nobody's going to care if it aggravates me if we're losing games. But I'm not a fan of it. I think for so many reasons, I don't think it's good for the game. I don't even think it's good for the players, for their health, for development of young pitchers. But this is the way the rule is, so we're going to have to adapt to it, and we're going to have to do it in a hurry.
What do you think about the 3-batter minimum?
I don't
Shaw?
like
it.
I don't like it either.
We preach to our guys for years now that, hey, the group, as a group, we are better. What is the sum of our parts?
That's right.
And now you can't even do that. I don't think it was a fluke that we were at the top of the league in not allowing inherited runners, because guys complimented each other, and we were allowed to do it however we wanted to, and guys accepted it. And now you've taken that away.
I know you're able to disconnect a little in the offseason, but you're paying attention to what other clubs are doing. The Minnesota Twins have added, and so have the Chicago White Sox. Just what do you make of what the Central Division could look like?
Josh Donaldson signed. We were down in Orlando in that golf tournament. So the day he signed, he's coming down 14, and I'm going up 9, and I'm screaming at him across the fairway. I mean, like, you see some of these LPGA, they're like, I think I broke golf etiquette. The White Sox have obviously had a loud offseason. They've signed some really good veteran guys. I will say this. I've been on that side of where teams have won the offseason and then been looking for a job the next year. So the game's played on the field. I do think our division is getting better. I don't think there's any getting around that. I feel like, and I felt like this since I got here, when we play, if we don't play right, we generally give ourselves a pretty good chance to lose. And regardless of who we're playing, if we play well, we usually have a pretty good chance to win. And I think that's okay.
Well, you're going to get by on, I think, a lower payroll than you had last year. Is there still room to add somebody going into spring training, or do you think this is pretty much what you're...
I don't know if this is the final version or not. I know Chris and Cherney always are kind of on the lookout. I mean, 5 days ago I was actually talking to a player that I'm not going to say who it is, but...
Give us a scoop, Tim.
Yeah, with the idea that maybe we could sign him.
Okay.
Now, it didn't work, but we were trying. So I don't think you ever shut the door. But saying that, if this is our team, excuse me, I would rather spend my energy trying to figure out how we're going to be a good team than be sitting here saying we need him and him and him. Yeah. I think that sends a horrible message, and I don't ever want to do that.
You guys found out really early last season about your depth in pitching with Kluber injury, Clevenger having the strained muscle. Kluber, Bauer aren't here. How do you look at this group now going in?
It's so funny. I see myself saying the same exact things about Shane Bieber that I was about Kluber 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's a very big compliment to Shane Bieber, because you take nothing away from Kluber just because he's traded. This is a guy that was a guy for us that could go up against the other team's best pitcher, and we felt like we had a chance to win. That's hard to do. Bieber, Clevenger, Carrasco, they allow guys like me and Chris to sleep better at night. And then you start adding in Savali, Plesac, Jeffrey. We got guys, young kids that came up, and we asked something of them that was probably a little unfair, and they reacted like veterans. They competed, they never backed down, and made it really fun, actually.
I remember we were sitting in that room at spring training talking to you during the media availability. It was like one morning. I think this was before Kluber had won his Cy Youngs, and you said to us, this guy's got a chance to be one of the best pitchers in the American League. So you see those similarities with Bieber?
Yes, I really do. I really do. The work ethic, the demeanor, the want to be the best, the pitches that allow him. I feel the same about Clevenger. Clev just has to stay. If Clev stays healthy last year, he's in the Cy Young mix. I mean, the way he pitched. I mean, so it gets exciting because they're not content to be okay. They want to be great, and they push each other, and that's a good thing.
And knowing what Carrasco went through last year, how do you look at him coming into a new season?
Well,
and
again,
how you might use
being
him?
respectful of him, we will always check with him to make sure he's okay. But I think he views himself as a starter, and I know we do. So as long as he's okay physically, he will be a starter, and that's where he belongs, that's where he deserves, and that's where we're better.
You know what's real. A lot of us sometimes do not. So anyone that talks about Lindor and rumors and all of this stuff. How have you been able to kind of calm yourself and say, well, listen, a lot of this isn't true, and we feel he's going to be here?
Because I'm privy to not only what's being said, but what's not being said. So I just knew what I was reading wasn't matching up.
Okay.
So I really didn't lose a lot of sleep on it. The one thing I guess I felt was for Frankie, because I know he was reading it every day, or, it's out there.
You see it, yeah.
And I felt bad for him because I don't think he should have to go through a winter like that. A player of his magnitude, and especially the way he carries himself. And I know Chris and I have talked, and Chris is going to sit down and talk to him. And I will too at some point, because I don't want him to be thinking about stuff like that.
Well, we're getting a signal you got to go.
Tito.
All right, guys, enjoyed it.
Yep, hit him straight in Arizona.
That's impossible.
Good seeing you
Terry
again, Terry.
Francona, Tribe Skipper, great to see him. We'll see him out at spring training, and nice enough to join us here on WKYC.com.
Yeah, he's been very public about the not liking the minimum 3 batters.
Yeah,
and I get it. I mean,
are we just being old school, or do you think
what is the advantage to it?
Well, they want to create more offense, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Or do they want a speed game, one less pitching change? I'm not sure I even understand
I don't think that even saves all
the
that
impetus
much
behind it. But to me, that wouldn't save a whole lot.
It's just you put a team in a tough spot, right? I mean,
yeah.
If Oliver Perez, listen, he's a tremendous pitcher, but if he's going to be one and face 3 right-handers in a row.
Yeah, and one of the things that he mentions about the development of pitchers, this organization's done a really good job of developing pitchers. All right.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. Some of it's just like with hitters. Some people say, well, why don't they use Luplo against lefties more or whatever, right? Or righties. Sometimes a guy looks better because of the way you're using him, because you're limiting his exposure to situations that he might not excel in, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing happens with pitchers and relief pitchers. You don't want a guy who right now in this point in his career is probably best served being a matchup guy suddenly having to face, 2 other hitters that he might not normally have to face.
Yeah.
And then he gets bombed, and then you're dealing with the aftermath of that, So I understand what he's saying about that, and I'm sure he's not the only manager that feels that way.
In general, how do you think the transition has been from Selig to Manfred? No, you're not skating on that. We'll talk to Nick Wicker in a second.
We'll do that later. that's too broad of a question.
All right, that's fine. I was just asking about the commissioner of Major League Baseball.
We don't want to get into that. But we did start talking about the minimum 3 batter rule.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Your manager hates it, by the way.
Yep. I mean, I feel like quite a few managers will.
Yeah.
How about relief pitchers? How will they feel about it?
Me personally, I'm fine with it, whatever. But at the same time, you're kind of taking away from the beauty of the game, in my eyes.
But you're not necessarily a specialist. I mean, you can get righties and lefties.
Well, that's what I was meaning.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect me all that much. But, other guys it does, and it also takes away from the beauty of the game, like, just strategy in Tito's eyes and other managers of, okay, we have X, Y, and Z coming up, 1, 2, 3. Third guy's a lefty, get the lefty up, ready to go. If they pinch hit for him, keep the righty in, all that. So I just think it kind of takes away a little bit. But, I have no control in it or anything. So
when they call you, you're going to go in on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Bud, you've covered baseball for years. I've been around the Indians for 10, 12 years. You talk to pitchers sometimes, and they're just like, hey, I didn't have it. You know what I mean? I'm just wondering, like, if you get out there and all of a sudden you're walking a couple guys or something, it's like you just don't have it. Are you going to have to go face that next batter if I don't even know the entire rules, or do you have to fake an injury? How's that? I don't know how that works.
I mean, you're gonna. I think the only way you can get taken out is if there is an injury, or I think that might be the only way, like an injury or something. But yeah, I mean, if you're out there and you're grinding, you just got to grind till 3 batters are over, I guess.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think of the rest of this bullpen? The guys you have coming back, and there are going to be some familiar faces, and maybe there'll be some competitions in spring training. But just as a whole, what do you think about this?
We're going to be amazing. I mean, I think we added some good pieces, and you have Emmanuel now that I told someone earlier
He
today.
throws
I don't
100
know.
for a changeup.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how many people you know that throw 100-mile-an-hour cutters, but I know one. So no, we have a different look. You know, we have guys down here up top. You know, obviously, obviously Oliver Perez with all the funkiness he puts on and everything. And it's just gonna be fun to kind of go out there and see these young guys come up and establish themselves, and especially James Karinchak, have him up. I mean, his stuff absolutely blew me away. Seeing him in September, I've been hearing about him nonstop, and watching him was something special.
You came up last year, I believe, when Clevenger went on the DL.
Yes.
Were you expecting at that point to stay here a while? And now after, 5-1 with a 2.81 ERA, is this the first time in your career you're going into a season feeling like, not that you ever think you're on easy street, but feeling like you're part of the club going into spring training and the season?
Yeah, kind of. Just having a good year last year and stuff. I wasn't thinking about staying up the whole entire year. When I got called up, obviously Clev was going down. We were going to need another starter sooner or later. I just, wanted to help the team win. Tito put me in some games that I was able to do that. And from there on, just kind of was history. But, yeah, it's nice going into the offseason and kind of having that good year and nice year, and then transitioning and now coming into spring kind of a little bit more relaxed than tense stuff, I would say.
Does that allow you to maybe work on things in spring training as opposed to trying to make it?
Yeah, definitely. You can go out there and start working on stuff rather than, my first outing out there last year in Arizona. It was the first time I ever threw in Arizona since the fall league in 2013. Way different. Oh, my gosh. The
ball just flies.
Yeah, I did not realize. I would always hear around the league about that.
Yep.
I was like, okay, how much?
How bad can it be?
But really,
launch pad.
Yeah. So, but no. So I was a little tense going into it, thinking I would have to be perfect every outing and to make the squad. And now it allows me to go out there and actually work on some pitches leading up in spring with actual hitters and game-like situations going on. Which, honestly, you can work on your pitch as much as you want on like a slider down away or something as much as you want during the off season. But then when there's a batter in the box and a guy on second base and you have to execute that pitch, it's completely different. So it's kind of nice.
You look at this, we've been talking about this a lot, the division. Obviously, the Minnesota Twins are the defending champs. The White Sox seem to be spending a lot of money. How do you view the rest of this division?
Everyone's just trying to keep getting competitive. And we can't control what they put out there and everything. All we can do is work on ourselves and try to be the best team we can be and be ready to go face them. But it's definitely going to be, I would say probably a little bit more competitive than last year with the pieces that Chicago and Minnesota added. But, we got a little chip on our shoulder, so we're ready.
What was your offseason like, and what did you try to work on specifically?
It was really relaxed, just a lot of family time. I have an 11-month-old son, so I gotta I gotta actually spend time with him and my wife, and every day just getting to see his steps and him moving forward, and just the advancements he's made and stuff. It's amazing and awesome. And then on the baseball side, just my typical workouts, running, throwing, kind of just working on my off speed, making sure it's there, ready to go come springtime. But really just feeling good and ready to get out there. I told my wife as soon as New Year hit, I was like, so spring training here yet? Like, we ready to go?
Yeah, I got to believe at this point, guys, kind of, you put in the work. Guys work out during the off season now. You got to have the itch to get there finally and face guys, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, you put in all this work and you just get antsy to see, what it transfers to. And, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we've talked to a couple of guys, and mostly Clevenger was most outspoken about the Astros thing. Do you have any thoughts on it, or did you suspect things when you were playing against them?
I mean, I'll just say what everyone else has said. Everyone going there kind of knew something was going on, and everyone always joked about basically, you have to, when you go there, use multiple signs with no one on. And I mean, I guess it really was happening. Maybe not to the extent of some people thinking and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's in the past. I'm done with it, over it, and move on to the next.
There's been two philosophies from guys. Some guys are just like, it is what it is. It happened. Done with it.
Yeah.
Some guys decide to talk about it a little bit more.
Well, you're talking about Clevenger.
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's pretty amped up about it. Well, listen, we'll see you out in Goodyear. It's great to see you, and I know Tribe fans are excited to see you here at Tribe Fest. And for the players, this has to be cool, too.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I didn't realize there's this kind of facility right below like the hotel over there and stuff, and then you walk out and there's thousands of people here. This is awesome support from the city, and it's like 20 degrees outside, so I'm sure they're itching to come in.
Nice. It warms you up.
Yeah.
Nick, we appreciate the time.
Thanks.
Pleasure, guys.
Thanks for stopping by. Nick Wickren, Tribe relief pitcher. We will see him at least out there for 3 batters. We know that. We will see him with this upcoming season. And I'll tell you what, the bullpen's going to be interesting. You never can predict
they always
what a
are,
bullpen's
right?
going to look like.
You never know season to season. Guys are in bullpens generally. Is this a slight to say they're in there because
For a reason.
they weren't starters?
They'd be
Some
starting.
of them weren't starters.
That's just it is what it is.
It's become more specialized than that, obviously. But yeah, you're always, I've seen seasons when you thought you had, a really good, strong bullpen and it hasn't performed, and other seasons when they come out of spring training and you're thinking this could be a real weak spot, and guys have somehow gotten it together, which I think is to Francona's point about, trying to preach to these guys that this is all like a closed group that, depends on each other. And he thinks, maybe this 3-batter thing is going to change that in some way.
He does seem, you hit on this with Wickren, he seems like a guy who's more comfortable. And I think maybe that's because of the success he had. Maybe this feels more like home. It's like, sometimes, he's not going to, I think he's in the bullpen. He's not going to be competing
we've
for a
seen,
spot.
you've been to spring training. You've seen guys come into spring training, and they know that what happens in spring training has to get the attention of that front office. And we've seen guys hit 400 in spring training who've still got sent down, right? Because they looked at them more as 4A players, guys that really weren't ready for the big leagues. And, so spring training is a kind of a funny situation for some guys, but it must be a bonus or a relief for a guy who, came from another organization, pitched as well as he did last year, and now can come into this spring training not feeling like he's got to impress everybody in the organization to have a chance of making it.
Bud Shaw, Nick Camino here with you on Facebook Live, WKYC.com, our digital show here at Tribe Fest at the Convention Center, the 8th annual. Nick Wickren had mentioned thousands of fans. I think they're expecting around 10,000 fans to be coming down to this event throughout all the stages.
I didn't know we were that popular. Maybe it's Crane.
They must all be watching the Sports Tonight show. You know what I mean? This must be what it is. No, it's great to see everybody that has come through here today throughout the day. We'll be still talking to some guests coming up. Do you still have the list of people that we'll be expecting to talk to maybe at some point?
I think we're going to have Mike Chernoff next, and we'll get to ask all the hard-hitting questions there. And then I think the only other guys on our list is Sandy Leone.
Well, this goes quick.
So,
Leone, new guy, comes over from the Red Sox. Yeah. No more Kevin Plawecki. He was the backup catcher, and I thought he had done a pretty nice job in that role, but he's gone now. So Sandy Leone will probably be the main backup catcher. So we'll kind of see how that plays out.
Yeah, he's a guy that came up and was drafted as a 17-year-old in 2007. Didn't really make the big leagues for 5 years, So not that that's a long time. I mean, he's only 22 when it happened. And then ended up with the Red Sox from 2015 on. So, his offensively, he's not, he's on the downswing.
Yeah, sure.
But, that's really not what you look for in the backup catchers anyway. You're looking for somebody who can run a staff and is a good defensive player.
If I was going to ask you to handicap this division, not the Super Bowl, this Central Division, how would you view this? I mean, obviously, forget the Royals, forget the Tigers. You've been sliding them all day anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll continue.
You've got those teams will both lose 100 games probably.
Yeah.
You've got the Twins, you've got the White Sox, you've got the Tribe. How do you view this? You've got the Indians, who were knocked off the pedestal last year. Yep. You've got the Twins, who are the defending champs, and Jerry Reinsdorf seems to be like printing money with the White Sox right
well,
now.
I mean, I after giving short shrift to the Twins last year, I think you have to consider them the favorites.
Okay.
They have a really good lineup still. Pitching's not as good as this team, but I didn't think pitching was as good as this team's last year either.
Sure.
And I put these guys on a par, maybe a second, tied with the White Sox. I think the White Sox have made up ground on this organization.
That's interesting.
And I understand what Terry's saying. He's saying I've been around teams that won the off season and didn't perform or didn't win the regular season, and I get that. But you have to. I thought they were a good young team last year, and I think they've added some good players to what was an up and coming team. It's not like they just went out and bought a bunch of experienced pieces and threw it at a team that really wasn't very good in other places. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, Eloy's still there. They bring back Abreu. Giolito's a tremendous starter. He'll be their ace, I would imagine. And they add Dallas Keuchel, who a lot of teams were looking at him as like, oh, he's not that good anymore. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, he's always been pretty tough.
Yeah.
So I think the White Sox will be an interesting club. The one thing I will say, though, I always wonder how many wins a team can jump in 1 year. And I know they added a lot, but I think last year they finished with around 74 wins.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always see 20-game jumps. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't happen in baseball the way it happens sometimes in the NFL.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
With a Niners team that went 4-12 to
that's right.
12-4.
That's right.
13-3.
Hey, while we have you and there's no guest around, who do you got for the Super Bowl?
I still have the
just
Chiefs.
for fun.
I've got the Chiefs.
There's no, we're not
for entertainment purposes.
Yes,
only.
no short-term
I
financial
have
advice.
I just think the Chiefs have too much going offensively, and I think Mahomes is.
He's fantastic.
Just dynamite.
Yeah, I wonder about their defense a little bit.
I know you do.
I was telling you on
think
the
their
walkover.
defense is a little better than you're giving them credit for.
Okay.
But you know who really needs to weigh in on this?
Who's that?
The guy was right about the Browns before the season started. Brian Crane. Who do you like in the Super Bowl?
He likes the Chiefs. Okay, so you know what? You guys like the Chiefs? I'm definitely
when
going
we
the
were
Niners
all
now.
picking the Browns, I picked him to go 10-6.
That's just how he is, though. He's just,
But he was right.
He was.
Maybe they'll be 8-8, maybe. And you're like, wow.
I've always been down on the Browns. I never give them the benefit of the doubt. This year, I finally fell for it. I said, all right, I see this team maybe going 9-7, getting back to the playoffs for the first time in however long. Being over 500 since the first time since Joe Thomas's rookie season, which was 2007 when they went 10-6. I said, oh, they'll go 9-7. They go 6-10.
Yeah.
That was
you know what drives the
very
Indians
disappointing.
organization crazy is the Browns. Because of the
Yes.
passion for the team
true.
that can't win, can't get out of its own way most seasons.
Meanwhile, I think over the last 6 years, the Indians have been the winningest team in Major League Baseball. No World Series, as we know. We got close, but I mean, they have created a consistent winning organization, and when we consider the market size, but it is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is.
What Tito's been able to do.
Yeah, and again, he doesn't like to deal. He doesn't like to talk about payroll because, he's in a bad spot, right? It's not his decision how much they're going to spend.
Well, sure.
And he has to keep a positive attitude about what they can do with who they have, and they've had successful seasons, but it's very challenging to lose payroll in this market for 2 or 3 straight years, and still be up there at the end of the season with a chance to win a world championship. And I think when you have a manager as good as he is, and a guy who seems to get players to rally around his cause or whatever you want to call it, you give yourself a chance. And I think they'll have a chance for as long as he's here, unless they just say, hey, you know what, we're going to tear it down and build it back up again.
My dad might be watching down in Florida, so I'll tell you a funny story about this. When Terry Francona took the job, my dad said, what's he doing? Is he taking this as a retirement job?
Well,
Tito said at his opening press conference, and he reminded us of it today, he goes, I said when I took this job I wasn't going to pasture. And I thought about it. I'm trying to think of things where we've seen it. Like, this is a little bit of a different reference, but you'll know it very well. Rolly Massimino, right? Villanova, national champ, became the head coach at Cleveland State. That was a total retirement job.
Yeah.
We've seen it in sports, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, that was something that was brought up, and to Tito's credit and to the Indians' credit, this has not been a retirement stop. He's done a fantastic job.
No, I mean, I think we all question, like, well, why does he want this job, you know? And he wanted it because of, you know, the couple of years that he spent in this
he had
with
good
his front
relationships.
office guys. He had great relationships with these guys. He really respected Antonetti, and I don't know how well he knew Chernoff walking in the door, but
I think he knew Shapiro pretty well.
yeah, Shapiro. You know, I mean, those were, and whether people want to hear this or not, you know, the Indians front office, Mike Chernoff has turned down GM interviews at places.
Yep.
They are well respected. When a guy leaves here, it's not to go coach tight ends in New York.
Yep.
So to speak.
You know, we're not wearing brown or orange today, so we really don't matter, bud. You know, we really don't matter. You know, and looking at some of the guys, too, in with the Indians organization that have gone on to other places, you had Derek Falvey, Neil Huntington. I mean, you've had different names that have gone to other places and have been front office executives. I mean, that's how it's been, and that's, to me, that's the staple of a good organization when you do that stuff. All right, this will be a lot of fun. Joining us now,
Hey, Mike.
Indians Mike Chernoff, Indians general manager. We told people that he would be stopping by. Absolutely, we love catching up with you, Mike. Welcome, great to see you.
Which tough question should I be expecting if you're saying this is going to be a lot of fun?
So
hopefully fun for all of us.
I
not
left
just
those
you,
all
Nick.
for Bud tonight, all right?
Perfect.
Bud has all the tough questions, but it's great to see you. Off-season, I know, has been busy for you guys. There's been some trades, there's been some signings, but just in general, as you look at it, whether it's Kluber or adding Cesar Hernandez, just what have you made of what you guys have been able to accomplish over this offseason?
Yeah, so I would say as we headed into the offseason, I think we saw a team that faced a ton of adversity last year.
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning of the year with Frankie, the little setback that he had where he wasn't able to start the season.
Yeah.
And then we had 3/5 of our rotation out for a large portion of the year with Kluber, Carrasco, and Clevenger all sustaining injuries, or in Carrasco's case, the cancer. And it was just unbelievable to see our guys kind of around 500 to start and then pull out of that, catch up to the Twins who were rolling at the time, have a great middle of the season, really come together. We faded a little bit at the end, but we still won 93 games. So we headed into the offseason actually feeling like this is a really competitive core of a team that we have and a great springboard into 2020. Our main priorities as we headed into 2020 were how do we stay competitive and make sure we remain at the top of our division or near it, and how do we complement the team in the right way while sustaining that success for the long term. So we felt like with the moves that we made, we were able to do that and go into 2020 feeling really good about the
And
team.
you're doing it with less payroll than you had last year. Is that going to be the case when the season starts?
I think so, just based on where we are and how late in the offseason we are. I think we're way less focused on a year-to-year payroll. What our job is to build a sustainable winning team. Over the past 7 years, we have spent $700 million less than the Yankees, and we have more wins than them. We have the most wins in the American League. So we're a small market. We have to do things differently. We have an incredibly passionate and loyal fan base. We just have a smaller fan base to draw from than the other teams. So every team's got a budget. Paul Dolan and our ownership group have invested a huge amount in the team over the past couple of years. They've allowed our payroll to go up a little bit. We knew it was unsustainable over the long haul, so we felt like we had to make the moves over time to get younger. As we got younger, we've actually gotten better, and to make sure we can sustain that success going forward.
I like the Yankee stat.
I want you to address this argument, and if you don't like the argument, I'm going to say it was Nick.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
Turnoff always blames me.
I'll just blame Antonetti probably.
That's
no matter
true,
what
yeah, just
happens.
blame him.
If you're only going to have Lindor for a couple years, and I know you don't know that for sure, but it's heading that way, why not spend more now while you have them?
Look, every team has a budget. I mean, why doesn't every team just spend more all the time? There are economic factors that we deal with in our market. We have a small market. We know who we have to be. I think you saw our ownership group invest a ton. We signed Edwin Encarnacion to a deal nobody thought we could sign.
Yeah.
We acquired Jay Bruce with payroll that we didn't have at the time. We traded for Andrew Miller. We've made big investments in this team, both on the field and off the field. Dominican Academy, Goodyear Complex. So at the same time, there are limits. Our goal is to try to build a winning team that can compete every year and that can sustain that competitiveness due to the health of the organization, both in terms of talent and finances.
I know all it takes is one phone call, but I mean, you're pretty confident come March 26th, Frankie Lindor is going to be the starting shortstop for your club, right?
Yeah, I know nobody believed us when we said this, but we said at the beginning of the year, we expect Frankie to be our shortstop in 2020. He's a great player. Teams call, not surprisingly, on great players. They actually call on almost all of our players. You don't hear about it as fans or in the media because a lot of that is not reported. With a player like Frankie, just like last offseason we saw with our starting pitching, it gets talked about and those things kind of bubble up to the surface. But it's not unusual to have those conversations about a large majority of our team. As we go into this year, we fully expect, and at this point, it's pretty clear Frankie will be our shortstop this year.
You had reason to suspect that you had good depth in the starting pitching. Were you surprised at how immediate some of those guys proved themselves when they did come up last year?
So that's a good question. I mean, surprise is the word, right? I think
pleasantly surprised, I'm sure. But
yes, and I think a lot of that, we feel really good about the depth of starting pitching that we had going into last year. At the same time, I'm not sure we ever know which of the guys will bubble up to the surface. So at the beginning of the year, I'm not sure any of us would have pegged Zach Plesac as a guy, not even in Major League Spring Training, who would come up and help the team in the way that he did. So it's always a little bit surprising to see which guy really takes off in terms of his development. But I think we, going in, felt great about the number of guys that we had and the ability to have a few guys jump up to that.
Tito told us you guys have had some knock 'em out, drag 'em out fights over the years. Care to express any of that? But he said he did say
I'm younger than Tito.
He did
so
say you guys are like brothers.
I'm
though,
more
so
agile.
He's not, but he just said, there's time. He said he's here because of the people, and he talked about his relationships with you and Chris, and that you guys have something special. But there are times where there's disagreements, and I mean, how important is it for you to be able to, you can express yourself to a guy like Tito, and at the end of the day, when it comes back to things, you guys are going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of those fights, we end up hugging each other. What it tells you is, I think at least, is that we're so close we can bubble up those disagreements. I think in a lot of workplaces, and definitely in a lot of clubhouses, those things are under the surface, and they don't get talked about, and you have people talking behind each other's backs. We have an incredible dynamic, and Tito has helped to create that organizationally for us. But with me, Chris, and Tito in particular, an incredible dynamic where we fully support each other. We're incredibly collaborative. That means sometimes we disagree with each other, but we hear each other out. We talk about it, and we can disagree. We can get into those knockdown dragouts, but at the end, we hug each other, we support each other, and we have each other's backs.
As we get closer to spring training, I've had more people ask me, like, well, where do you think this stands with Puig? Is there still mutual interest on both sides for something to happen there, or is that?
So any free agent, I can't talk about any free agent or any particular player. What I will say is, Puig really helped us last year. We felt like it was an important thing to add to our team. As we head into 2020, we got a lot of guys in the outfield. We added Delino to Shields to the mix of young guys that we have. Oscar Mercado, if you remember, going into spring training, nobody had heard of Oscar Mercado.
Right.
He took off, had a great spring training, went down to Columbus, and then came up in May and just was a spark plug for the team. We feel really good about some of the young players that we have, giving them an opportunity. Doesn't mean we won't consider complementing that group, but I think we'd like to flesh it out and get a sense of which of these guys can really step up to the challenge.
How's this organization look at Bradley Zimmer after what he's dealt with or been unable to do over the last 2 years?
So Zim had a tough year last year. I think obviously physically with the recovery that he had, but also mentally, that's a tough thing. When he felt ready mentally to help the team, and he was almost ready at the end of spring training to do that, and then had the setbacks that he had. That's hard to grind through a season, especially when it's 115 degrees in Goodyear, Arizona, and you're trying to do that. I just saw Brad yesterday. He is in a tremendous physical spot. Mentally, I think he is refreshed. And so we're really looking forward to him coming in this year, hopefully being fully healthy. We expect that, being totally unrestricted, and, hopefully we can see the player that we all saw a couple of years ago.
A lot of people throughout Major League Baseball, when they've pointed to the offseason, a lot of people are pointing to what the Chicago White Sox have been able to do, and the Twins have also stayed pretty busy. What do you make of what this division could look like? It seems a lot of people are saying it's a three-team race here. What have you made of what they've been able to do?
We can't control any of that. Teams go through different cycles, right? You saw the Royals peak, they win a World Series, then they have a huge rebuild. You saw the White Sox over the past several years have a huge rebuild. we're the exception. We're trying to do it
You guys
differently.
just
We've tried to
been
have,
consistent.
we've had 7 years of over 500 every one of those years. We're trying to get into our 5th postseason run in an 8-year period. Like I said, we have the most wins in the American League over that time. It's hard to sustain that level. As we try to do that, we know other teams around us are all trying to improve and trying to get better and trying to knock us down. So there's nothing we can do about that. We have to put the best team on the field that we possibly can. We feel really good and strongly about this team. Feel good about the chemistry they have, but also the talent on the field. And you take what comes, and we try to just beat each of those teams every day of the season.
We get back to the outfield for a second. How do you look
Bud's
at
trying to figure out the opening day roster.
No. How do you look at Reyes?
So Reyes, Tito's talked a lot about this. It's hard when you have a guy who can really only DH. Reyes came from a National League club, so was able to play the outfield. He felt like he could put himself in a better spot physically this offseason to maybe get out there a little bit more. I don't think anybody expects that he's going to be like an everyday right fielder for us. But just having the option, whether we're in a National League ballpark or whether you want to give somebody else a day at DH, having the option to play him in the outfield and feel okay about it defensively, that's the goal. And Franmil, to his credit, has been coming to our complex in the Dominican like 3-4 times a week, putting the work in, doing the agility stuff, doing the sprints. So we're hopeful as we get to spring training. We'll give him the opportunity, and we'll see how it looks.
I see.
And I think about your infield. A lot of people talk about the question marks in the outfield. How will the bullpen look? Your infield with Santana and Hernandez, Lindor, Ramirez. I mean, that's as good as you're going to find in the American League journey.
Yeah, and it actually frees Tito up quite a bit to really platoon when he wants to in the outfield. Also, every one of those infielders is a switch hitter.
That's right.
So you get a tough lefty, you could still play those guys. You can use the right-handed bat in the outfield or left-handed bat in the outfield against a tough righty. So, we feel good about not just the individual guys that we have, but also the versatility it can create for the rest of our roster.
Well, we know how he feels about the 3-batter minimum.
Yeah.
How did that rule come about, and what is it supposed to do?
So I think Major League Baseball, and I think we all agree, Major League Baseball wants the game to appeal to fans, and they realize they have to manage how the game has changed over time. Games have gotten a lot longer over the past several decades. They know they have to manage that. Games have at times, I don't want to say slower, but the action on the field sometimes has gotten a little bit slower because of the way the game is played today. There are more home runs, more strikeouts, more walks.
Sure.
So that just changes the type of game that's on the field. This is an effort to have fewer visits to the mound, fewer pitching changes, and hopefully just have a quicker pace to the game. I think we all agree that we'd love to see a quicker pace to the game. I'll let Tito handle his thoughts on what the actual specific rule is. I'm sure he's done that with each of you, yes.
Attorney, you got to go. Great seeing you.
Take care, Nick.
And we appreciate you having us here. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
Mike Chernoff, Indians general manager, and I could talk to him for hours. He's a wealth of knowledge, great information, and he's been around for a while.
Yeah, very bright guy.
But we got the wrap signed very quickly.
We did, yeah.
They're waiting for him over
as soon
on
as
the
I
radio
asked that
side,
question about spending money while Lindor was here, they started going like this.
No, that's not true. We had him for like 10 more minutes after that.
I'm kidding.
Oh, man. All right, so where are we at on
That
this?
was a good argument by you, by the way, to pay Lindor while he's to kick up the payroll while Lindor's here. That was actually my point, but I blamed it on you because I knew he wouldn't like it.
I will say, to go against your, what did they do the last 3-4 years? I mean, they were probably overspending their market size, right?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah. We'll never know.
I know.
We'll never know.
It's Major League Baseball. It's hard. It's hard when you're in this market to continually do it. But the Indians, to their credit, are doing it. I mean, hey, let's think about this. Not to compare sports. What's going on with the Browns and what's happened with the Cavaliers since LeBron left? And, what this organization does on a continuous basis. I mean, it's the best run organization.
Absolutely,
in town,
and has been for quite a number of years now.
Right.
I think it was when John Hart and Mike Hargrove were here with Dick Jacobs owning it. I've pointed this out a few times, and every time I do, someone says, "Oh, you're just trying to make excuses for the Indians." Dick Jacobs never operated at a loss. He was very clear about that. He would tell me that all the time. He would not going to operate a team in the red.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
The revenue was here. He spent it. Hey,
That's true.
Bud Shaw, nice to meet you.
Sandy, nice to
Bud
meet you.
Shaw, Sandy Leone,
Nice
New
to meet
Indians catcher. Great to see you.
So
New
you're getting
face
settled?
here in town.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, not yet. Just been here for a couple days, but
Do you have you need to get a place here, and
yeah, looking for a place.
already did or no?
No, not
I
yet.
know some real estate people.
Oh,
I'll
nice.
set you up with.
That's gonna
You're
help.
working a deal right now. He's working a deal.
Yeah, that's gonna
on
help.
the show. Sandy Leone, New Indians catcher, joining us, comes over from the Boston Red Sox, and when you found out Cleveland was going to be the place, this was where you were headed, and this is where you were going to be. Just what was your perspective on it? You know, coming in from another club and knowing what this team is. You guys play each other. Just overall thoughts about coming here.
I mean, as a player, you always want to go to like a winning team. You know, a good team is gonna make the playoffs or just get close to make the playoffs. So I've been playing with Boston the last 5 years, and then when I find out when they called me, it was late night.
Yeah.
When I got traded, and then I mean, I know a lot of people here, especially a couple coaches. Carl Willis, the pitching coach.
Yeah.
Victor Rodriguez, the assistant hitting coach. They were with Boston before, so it's like I don't know Tito, but Tito was the only thing I heard about Tito is he's a great guy, great manager.
Yeah.
He's really good communicating with the players. So I was like, I mean, that's a good team. I want to be in that team. Then I mean, whatever I can do to help the team to win a World Series, it's gonna be fun for me.
Yeah, for people that don't know, you were drafted by Washington.
Yes.
In 2007, made your debut with them in 2012, traded to the Red Sox, I think, in 15. So while Tito wasn't there, he was gone by then.
Yes.
There were still Red Sox players that you probably have talked to about playing for Tito Francona, right?
Yes, I mean I played with David Ortiz, Henry Ramirez, Dawson Pedroia. They were there too. I mean, like I say, it was a really good team, really good organization. But now, I mean, it's on the page now with the Indians, and then looking forward just to know the fans, know the players, know the city, and then just trying to win games.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I mean, turn the page, kind of a fresh start for you. Are you excited about this opportunity? I mean,
yes. I mean, I got a really good year with Boston. I mean, won the World Series in 18. It was really fun the last 5 years. But now, I mean, new team, new opportunities, new players, new teammates. I just want to be able to know the guys, know the pitching staff, and just trying to help the team win games.
In 16, I believe you had your best offensive season in Boston, hitting .310. I think
Yes.
your OPS was like .845. The next 2 years you had a downturn.
Yes.
For people that don't know much about your game offensively, what kind of an offensive player are you?
I'm gonna do whatever I can to help the team. Bunt, move the runner. If I feel good, I mean I know I can deliver so with the bat too. So I've been working on that, trying to get back to the 16 swing. It wasn't after that the last 3 years after 16. And it was I focused more on my game calling and the pitching staff. But I mean I know I can do more so with my bat. So hopefully it's going back this year and they help the team to win.
Do you have any associations or know any of the pitchers on this staff? Have you crossed paths with them? Anybody?
Not really. I face him, just face him. I know they're really young, they're really good. I know they can help the team out in different levels of the game. So I think we're gonna have a really good year.
When you join an organization like this, how long does it take you to where you're comfortable knowing what these pitchers like to throw, what they throw best? Is that something that happens by the end of spring training, or do you have to learn that in regular season games?
I think in spring training, that's why spring training is done. You know, just to know the players, know your teammates. I know Roberto for a long time because we play a lot in the minor leagues.
oh yeah.
So communicating with him about the pitching stats is gonna help a lot. So I'm gonna do that the whole spring training. But I'm really good communicating with the pitchers too, just asking questions. I'm gonna have the chance to catch in the spring training too, so that's gonna help. But I'll be ready for the season.
You guys will be a nice little tandem back there. I mean, Roberto, for his entire career, was pretty much the backup guy. Last year, he gets the opportunity with Yan Gomes traded to Washington. What have you made of his growth as a player?
Like I said, I know Roberto from years ago in the minor leagues. I always knew he was a really good catcher. He was playing every day at that time in the minor league. So when you get called up to the big leagues, I mean, you want to be in the big leagues. I mean, no matter if you're going to play or not, you want to be in the big leagues and then just wait for the chance to play. and he had a chance last year to play every day, and he showed what he can do. I mean, I think that up and down the minor leagues and the big leagues, that can help you just to grow as a player, to grow as a teammate, and as a professional. And he took that from all those years in the everything last year. I mean, won a Gold Glove. That's really like as a catcher, that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, right.
Win a Gold Glove for you, for your team, and then for your family.
Well, listen, welcome to Cleveland. In 11 days, you'll be heading out to Goodyear, Arizona. Spring training right around the corner. I'm trying to think. Have you ever had spring training out in Arizona?
No, I'm heading there early.
You were in Fort Myers with the Red Sox,
and that's where I live too. So.
Okay. There you
So
go.
it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a new experience for me too. Just being in Arizona for spring training for the first time. I'm heading early. I'm heading next week, next Wednesday, just to be around for 1 week before everything starts. So, know Arizona, know the complex, know the coaches. So I'll be there soon.
That's a veteran move.
The ball flies out there, by the way.
Yeah,
that's what I heard too. So I don't want to take
good
that
and bad.
Yeah, it's good and bad. You could probably go into the guy, but hit 40 home runs this year. But it could be tough for the pitchers.
Anyway, thank you for joining us.
Yes, Andy, thank you so much. Andy
Thank you,
Leon,
guys.
New Indians catcher. Great to see him. But this has gone fast.
It has gone
talking
fast.
with some players. So, overall thoughts. It sounds like you think the Indians will be near the top of the division, and then I would imagine throughout the year competing at least for a spot in the playoffs, whether it's wild card, second wild card.
It would be. I hate to say it's going to come down to the bullpen because there's so many other aspects of a team, but I'd like to see some of these young arms that they just acquired and see what they're going to be like. I mean, who was it that was it? Nick that said he now knows one guy who throws 100 miles an hour, or was that Clevenger? I can't remember. But that's a really intriguing pickup. I know a lot of people felt that they could have, or maybe should have gotten more for Kluber when they made the deal, but the pieces they got, I think, have real high-end possibilities. In really important roles. So if this kid turns out to be a setup guy or a closer throwing 102 miles an hour, I think people are going to say that was a good piece to get back in a trade for a guy like that. And plus, I think we tended to forget that Kluber really had a tough time and has had a couple of tough years physically. That I'm not sure he would have commanded a whole lot more in a trade. I don't know. When you saw what they got back, was your immediate reaction like, it doesn't seem like enough for Kluber?
Well, I mean, I got it because he had some injuries.
And it was also you're taking on $17 million, along with the guy who's had injuries.
Yeah, so I think that it made sense for where they're at and what they're trying to do. And, if Class A can be that guy that they're hoping, you may have made out pretty well. And I think DeShields will be a guy we're going to see throughout the season. You hopefully, he can get you more on base stuff and things like that. But when he's on base, I know he's a threat to steal and stuff. So.
I mean, overall, I think I suspect that this team is going to challenge for a division championship again. I was probably naive to think that they were going to win. I thought that they would win the division last year by 5 to 10 games. Minnesota was a good organization. We forget that there are other organizations in this mid-market cities that have had to be really creative and had to be really good about how they do it. And they're a good organization. They're going to be up there again this year, and I think Chicago is going to be right there with them. So it'll be a lot of fun.
As I look at both teams, it's funny. You've got the Indians who have the nice starting pitching, and then maybe some questions about the offense. With the other clubs, the Twins and the White Sox, the offense isn't going to be a problem, but you wonder about their starting pitching over a 162-game season.
Hey, you've got to feel a little better about the outfield with Mercado in center field right now. That piece wasn't even in place last year when they went into it. So if they can fill in and find a guy like Zimmer or Luplo or somebody that gives them that guy that they can start 70, 80 times and then fill in the rest of the season with platoon, maybe they get on to something. It just doesn't feel to me like it's an offensively, right and left field still feel inadequate.
And what do the old school baseball people say? Up the middle. How do you look up the middle? So you've got
up the
Roberto
middle,
Perez.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You got Lindor. You probably have an upgrade in Cesar Hernandez at second base over Kipnis.
Yeah.
And then in center, the guy you mentioned, Mercado.
Yeah.
So, are we done with our guests here?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is going to do it.
So we don't have to do this?
WKIC. Are we stretching?
We can do
Okay.
this.
But it has been fun.
All right, it's fun night.
We'll see
Enjoyed
you
it.
tomorrow night on Sports Tonight with
Sounds
us
good.
on WKYC 3 News. And we appreciate you being with us here on the digital side of things on Facebook Live, WKYC.com, the WKYC app. For Bud Shaw, I'm Nick Camino. For Brian Crane, Denise Pulver, and thank you so much. Have a great week and stay safe out there.
Good job.
That was fun.
Yeah.